What's up, everybody? This is Bri with Eagles Real Talk. Thank you for joining me today. We're going to be going over the Week 4 Power Rankings, and we'll be dropping one of these every week. So if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and get down with ERT. Let's get straight into who's at the top and who's at the bottom. There's been a lot of things going on within the league. A lot of people thought this team is going to be good, that team is going to be good, that team is going to be bad. Now they're good. It's a lot going on. It's Week 4. We're here. Let's get straight into it. So going into Week 4, not much has changed at the bottom. Okay, so number 32 ranked team, the bottom of the list, we have the Texans sitting at 0-2-1. That tie coming against the Colts, who are also a trash team this year, pretty much. The Texans are having a hard time in the run department as far as the run defense. They're averaging 7 yards per carry a game. Bottom feeders of the league. Jets 1-2. Supposedly they have Wilson, their starting quarterback, coming back to replace Flacco. Flacco's done okay. They got him throwing way too much. Jets are a mess. Bottom of the league. Not much to talk about. They got a few, wide receivers out there, but besides that, nothing really to talk about here. Falcons, who I thought were probably the worst team coming into the league. They have Mariota starting right now. They're not really utilizing Pitts, but Drake London, who, if you've been following ERT for a while, you knew I was a big Drake London fan coming into the league. He's performing, probably the best rookie wide receiver so far. He's playing his butt off, so that's something to talk about. But besides that, not much. Geno Smith has the Seahawks 1-2. I believe they're on the decline, though, after that first game against the Broncos. Not much to talk about here. They have a lot of holes. These are obviously the teams that need a new quarterback, a new coach, a GM, or all three. So, they got a lot going on. Seahawks are one of those teams. Raiders. This is a surprise 0-3 team to me. I thought they had a pretty solid roster, especially on the offensive side of the ball, adding Devontae Adams, but they've been a major disappointment. 0-3, even though they are 0-3, probably should be at the bottom. They're definitely a better team. They've lost all of their games by, at the end. So, they've been in contention, but they still are 0-3, and they're starting to spin their wheels at this point. Commanders, who the Eagles just mollywopped, this past Sunday. They're 1-2. They're on the decline as well. Not much to talk about over there, considering they have Carson Wentz. He's a statue in the pocket. He's obviously not what he used to be athletically, and he's got them sitting at the bottom. They have Chase Young coming back later on this season. Defensive line is solid. They did solid against the run against the Eagles, but their passing defense isn't much to be talked about. So they're one of those teams who needs a quarterback, a coach, or a GM, or possibly all three. Now, 22 through 26, these are teams with, a pretty good defense, solid defense, but a bad offense or a bad quarterback. Something holding them back on offense. Let's start out with the top 26 ranked team going into Week 4. I have the Patriots sitting at 1-2. Obviously, they have an issue at quarterback with their starter having a pretty bad high ankle sprain. So we'll see how they do this week. Steelers right ahead of them, but they're also on the decline. Steelers, they have a quarterback situation as well. They have Mitch Trubisky. He's not going to win you that many games. Steelers, at this point, they're headed towards maybe 7, 8, 9 wins. Tomlin always has a winning record, so they'll probably get 9 wins somehow, some way, but miss the playoffs. And they're going to have to, go to their rookie sooner or later, too, so let's keep an eye on that. Eagles play them in a few weeks. Colts sitting at 1-1. They just beat the Chiefs. I don't know how, but they beat the Chiefs, so they're slightly on the incline, but we'll see how they do. Going up against whoever they play this week. Yeah, there's so many games. Panthers 1-2. This is a team who obviously snuck out a victory against the Saints. The Saints are right ahead of them at 22. These are two bad teams at the moment with quarterbacks who just can't get it done. They have Jameis Winston, who's dealing with four, fractures in his back. I don't even know how he's going to get through the season. Panthers obviously have Baker Mayfield, who is a bottom 10 quarterback at best, bottom 5 at worst. So not much going on within these 22 through 26 teams. We kind of know what we were getting, and they've been pretty bad. Now on to the teams that are on the outside, but looking in at 17 through 21, we're going to go ahead and start with the Bears, who are, they have, 2 wins. I don't know how, but they have 2 wins. So they're, currently on the up and up. We'll see how long that lasts. They have a second-year quarterback, a rookie head coach. Not much in the passing game at all. Montgomery is hurt. But their backup, stepped in and ran really good last week. So we'll see how they do. But the Bears are currently sitting at number 21, 2-1. Cardinals, big disappointment. But they're without Hopkins, and if you watch some of my videos prior to this one, I was kind of down on Kyler just because he plays a lot better when he has Hopkins to throw to. And right now, even with the additions of Hollywood Brown, they're still not doing too well on the offensive side. I think it's mostly on Kyler right now. He's not running as much. He looks a little hesitant to run. He's scrambling. He's doing his best at scrambling, but he's not really being efficient out there. So we'll see how the Cardinals do. The Eagles have them week 5. Giants are currently 2-1. Obviously, this is probably the biggest surprise in the league, but at this point, those wins, they barely won the first game. They're a lucky 2-1, and they had a wake up call this past week. I see them going downhill from here, but the Giants are currently top 20 team at 19 for me. Chargers, biggest disappointment on this list. Chargers are just, they're on the outside looking in, but they're trash. I think they're headed a little bit farther down this list, especially with their quarterback injured. He's got some cartilage issues in his ribs. The defense, they have, pieces on that defense, but they're not putting it all together. Slater, the left tackle, just went down for the season. They got a lot of injuries. Keenan Allen with a hamstring. This team is dealing with a lot of injuries. They need to fire, that trainer who poked, what's his name, in the lung last year. He's still the trainer. Tell me how. Explain to me in the comments why they didn't fire this guy. But anyways, 17, we have the Browns 2-1. Kind of a surprise, but they're headed up a little bit. They don't have Deshaun Watson yet, so that will obviously drastically improve their season. But Amari Cooper's been balling, so we'll see how they do. Right now, they're currently at 17 on the outside looking in, but they're on the cusp of taking it to the next level and moving up the list. Now, these are my wild cards, okay? Literally, these are the teams that are going to be fighting for those wild card spots at the end of the year from what I've seen. Lions. I thought the Lions had a pretty solid team coming into this year. I like the weapons that they've added. They still haven't got to activate Jamison Williams, who, was dealing with the ACL injury at the end of his college season. So he's a rookie. He's going to need a little bit of time, but who knows? He could come in, step up, be Amon St. Brown's Robin to his Batman. They could be a solid team going forward. So my eyes are definitely locked in on the Lions, on one of the teams to watch to be a sneaky playoff team. 15, we have the Broncos 2-1. Honestly, if you watch any of the Broncos, they're lucky to be. They beat the other day. They won 10-11. First time we've had that score in a long time. Their offense looks terrible with Russ. Russ can't cook anymore. He shouldn't even be in the kitchen. He's obviously lost a lot of juice from his previous years. It looks slower, looks more indecisive. Arm strength doesn't look the same. he just doesn't look like the same Russ to me. But we'll see how the Broncos and the rookie head coach Hackett can hack it going forward. 14, we have Titans 1-2. Not much to talk about there. Really average, boring team. They have Derrick Henry, but without A.J. Brown, this team just doesn't do anything for me. 49ers 1-2. Jimmy G stepped in last week, did solid. Played this week and did horrible. So that's kind of his MO. I think he'll do a little bit better once he gets a little settled in. But 49ers right now, they're a wild card to make that, that last NFC wild card position slot at 7 or 6 this season to make the playoffs. Jacksonville 2-1. Dougie P, Eagles former Super Bowl winning coach, has got this team playing pretty solid. I like what I've seen from the defense. I like what I've seen on offense. Lawrence has definitely taken it a step up since last year, being with a coach like Dougie P, who was a former quarterback himself for the Philadelphia Eagles and a few other teams. He's done solid over there. I knew he was. I knew he's going to turn around that franchise. Good luck to Jacksonville. It's set for this week when they play the Birds. Sorry, Dougie P, you're going to have to fly in and take an L, but it's good to see you. It's good to see you. Cowboys sitting at number 11, 2-1. Somewhat of a surprise after Dak went down, but to be honest, and let me know in the comments, has Cooper Rush looked, or at least, we seen one game sample size from Dak the first game. They looked terrible. All right. Charles Barkley, terrible. But, since Cooper Rush stepped in, they don't look too bad, so maybe Cooper Rush can sustain them until Dak comes back, and we'll see what they can do. But as of right now, they're a wild card, and I probably see them finishing with 9 wins this season, but we'll see how it goes. On to the top 10. Now, these are teams that I consider playoff teams who will either, be playing and fighting for the division crown, or at least being a solid team throughout the season, and most likely a playoff team. So right now we have the Bengals. Now, I know you may look at the Bengals record and say, 1-2, but they still have Burrow. They still have one of the best wide receivers in the league, Chase. They have Mixon, who will be in the mix for one of the top runners in the league. They have a solid team. Obviously, they made it to the Super Bowl last year. They just had a funky start. Some teams have that Super Bowl hangover, that loss that kind of fades into the regular season. I think they'll eventually get by that. But as of now, they're at my power rankings number 10, because you see the power. You still see the power and the weapons they have on this team. So if you see them on your schedule, you're still like, okay, 1-2, but they're actually, pretty solid on paper. Vikings, 2-1. Yes, the Eagles did hand them, a butt whooping last week, but they look solid in week 3. They look solid in week 1 going up against the Packers. So I have them squeaking back into the top 10, and they look like they're a playoff team this year. We'll see how the season goes, but I have the Vikings at 2-1. They'll be in the mix somewhere in the playoff mix. Somewhere in there they're fighting, to make the playoffs. Buccaneers 2-1. They haven't looked good. They got, injuries at the wide receiver position. Tom Brady is showing his age just a little bit. I think a lot is going on with Brady. It's not just age and football related. I think he's got a lot of personal things, and I don't think he's as sharp as he usually is. So the Buccaneers sit at 2-1, and they're number 8 on the list. The Chiefs are 2-1 as well. Obviously, they have a great quarterback. Mahomes, he's doing what he can with Travis Kelce, but I think he's missing the cheetah. I think he's missing that, the fastest wide receiver that I possibly ever seen, to his right and to his left, and handing the ball off to that guy. I think the Chiefs made a bad decision by letting him walk. The Cheetah is he's obviously flourishing, which we'll get to the Dolphins soon. Packers sitting at 2-1. They moved up a little bit. Last week I probably had them at the 10 or 9 or 11 mark, but they're moving up. They had a couple good wins, so we'll keep them there right above the Chiefs and the Buccaneers. Those are those teams that are obviously going to be in the mix and a tough out once the playoffs start. Rams are sitting at 2-1. They haven't really impressed me. That first game, I thought they looked awful, but they have made some adjustments, and McVay's got the team, playing a little better, run game looking a little better. But that addition of Allen Robinson, knew it. I try to tell y'all, he's slightly cooked. He's definitely not the receiver that's worth that check that he's receiving from the Rams. But hey, I'm glad the Birds didn't sign him. Really glad they didn't sign him. Hey, now we're going to talk about the elite teams, okay? And when I say elite, what I mean by elite teams, not elite players, if you're an elite team, what I consider elite, then you are a Super Bowl contender, okay? You're in the mix to be either the best team in your conference, for sure going to win your division, and you're also, you're maybe a shoo-in to get that bye or to, potentially make it to the NFC, AFC championship. You're one of the top 4 teams in the league, okay? That's elite for me. And number 4, we have the Ravens, 2-1. They had a bad loss against the Dolphins, but as we can see, if you look up a little bit ahead, the Dolphins are sitting pretty good this year. They're looking like a pretty nice team, obviously with the addition of Tyreek, the Cheetah, Hill. That's a big addition, and I think Tua is capitalizing on having him in the lineup. They're throwing it deep. They're a pretty potent offense, so to lose to them, that's not too bad, especially when you were beating them. The Ravens let their guard down that second half, couldn't guard anybody, and, they let them back in the game. But the Ravens could easily be 3-0. So we have the Ravens at 4. We're going to go to the Bills, who moved down on my list. They were previously number 1. Now they're at number 3 because they lost to the previously mentioned Dolphins. The Dolphins are taking care of business, and this is why I have the Dolphins right at number 2. But let's stick with the Bills. The Bills are obviously going to be in the mix at the end of the season. Allen, hell of a quarterback, tough as nails. They have Diggs, who's currently probably the best wide receiver this year so far in the league. They got Gabe Davis. The only thing I see as a potential thing to drag that team down a little bit is the run game. Yes, Allen, he's going to run for some tough first downs. He's going to get busy running the ball, but Singletary's not, he's not much to be desired for at that position. He leaves a lot to be desired for, rather. He doesn't really, bring it as far as like being a back that you can give it to every time, but he's going to do solid. So I have the Bills sitting at 3 after noticing that in their team as a weakness. Number 2, I have the Dolphins. Dolphins, like I said, they were down big, 28-7 to the Ravens. They were kind of looking like, wow, is this team a fraud? What are they? And then they ended up having, just throwing it all over the yard on the Ravens and coming back to win that game. So they stole a win. And then this week, they squeaked out a win against the Bills, who I previously had at number 1. So I think fittingly, they should be at number 2 until they show that they can, win against, a team from start to finish. Now, on to number 1, my favorite team. They're flying high, the Philadelphia Eagles. They're leading in almost every category. Yes, this is an Eagles channel, but I keep it real. This is Eagles Real Talk, and the Eagles have been, without a doubt, in my opinion, the number 1 team from all phases of the game. The quarterback, Jalen Hurts, been on point. They talked about his accuracy. He's been throwing darts out there. Addition of A.J. Brown is obviously paying dividends early. He's definitely, he's been top 5 this year, and he has, another, wide receiver 1 next to him in Devontae Smith. The former Heisman is going crazy out there. He had 160 yards last week. He's starting to really cook. Him and A.J. Brown, that can be a lethal combination. I believe we have the best wide receiver duo in the league. Possibly. But we'll see how it goes. Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill may have something to say as far as that conversation goes, but they're definitely in the mix for the best wide receiver duo in the league. The Eagles have been dominant. They came out. He played great against the Lions. They let the Lions come back a little bit the second half, but they secured a 38-35 victory. Last week, they dominated on Monday Night Football against the Vikings, who are, I believe, a top 10 team. And then they played the Commanders and just straight, a roundhouse kick to the head, Cobra Kai style, and they just dominated, showed them no mercy, and they really showed me a lot. The defense had 9 sacks. They were just all over Carson Wentz, who is somewhat of a statue, don't get me wrong, but 9 sacks is a lot. And obviously Slay and Bradbury, they're allowing, both respectfully top 4 passer ratings to opposing quarterbacks, around 30% passer rating. They've been unbelievable. And with the additions of CJ Gardner and Marcus Epps in the back, they're holding it down at all positions. I see Miles Sanders having a pretty solid year as well. I think this team is primed to make it all the way this year. I think they have, a good coach, a good coaching staff, a team that, they all like each other. It's a team you can tell they just have a lot of love for one another. And usually that means you're going to go far, especially if you're showing results on the field. It's not just, all love and hugs and, high fives. They're actually, putting points up on the board, taking points from the other team as far as the defense goes. And in my opinion, the Eagles are the number 1 team in the NFL this year. Let me know in the comments, did I get the top 4 right? Are those the most elite teams in the league? I think we all have different opinions, but the top 4, I think those are all interchangeable, but those are definitely the top 4 teams this year in the league. Let me know in the comments. Let me know how you feel about this power rankings list and how you feel about, going into week 4 and what teams may move up or move down as of next week. But until then, make sure to hit that subscribe button. I am Bry with Eagles Real Talk. I do this every week. We're going to start really getting down with not just Eagles talk, but football around the league. And we have a lot more shows coming up. So if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. Show your boy some love on that like button as well. And if you really want, hit that notification bell so you know when these videos drop. Maybe you're at work, maybe you're at home chilling. Whenever it drops, you'll be notified. Get down with ERT. Why it's early in the season, so you can follow along the whole year. I'm Bry. This is Eagles Real Talk, and you know what to do. Keep it real always. I'll catch you next time.